How to grow potatoes in bags. Imagine picking up a bag that has been sitting on your patio for 3 months, tipping it over onto the ground, and watching somewhere between 3 and 8 pounds of fresh potatoes roll out onto the surface. Potatoes you grew. Potatoes that started as a single seed potato pushed into the bottom of a bag of soil. No garden bed, no digging, no significant space requirement, just a bag, a patio or balcony, and a system that has been producing some of the most satisfying harvests in home gardening for years. Bag potato growing has gone viral in the gardening world more than once, for one specific reason: that harvest reveal moment looks almost too good to be real the first time you see it, and the first time you experience it yourself, it feels even better than it looks. This is the complete system, and it starts with a single bag. Here is what you are walking away with. The full step-by-step bag potato system, from choosing the right bag through the final harvest, the mistakes that quietly cap most first-time yields, and the hilling technique that most bag growers never discover, the one that turns a modest harvest into a genuinely surprising one. You will also know exactly which varieties perform best in bags and exactly when the harvest window opens. Potato prices at American grocery stores have climbed noticeably through 2026, which is a big part of why bag potato growing has become one of the most searched food growing methods this year. Alongside the sheer number of harvests reveal videos that have introduced people to a method they never knew existed. Most American zones still have time for a fall harvest if you start now rather than waiting for next spring, and bags actually outperform in-ground growing for a lot of home situations: better drainage, fewer pests, and a harvest you can walk into a driveway or balcony and access even with 0 yard space. Section 1. Choosing the right bag. The bag itself is the single most important equipment decision in this entire system, and the wrong choice creates problems that no amount of good technique can fully make up for. Fabric grow bags consistently outperform plastic for potatoes. The fabric allows air pruning of the roots, which produces a stronger root system. It drains far better, which prevents the waterlogging that causes most bag potato failures, and it keeps roots cooler in summer heat than plastic ever will. If you want to test the method before buying dedicated bags, a repurposed potato or soil sack works fine as a free first attempt. On sizing, 10-gallon is the realistic minimum for a worthwhile harvest. 15 to 20-gallon is the sweet spot most experienced growers settle on. Just know that a fully planted and watered bag that size gets heavy fast, so decide on placement before you fill it. Drainage holes are non-negotiable. A bag that does not drain will rot your seed potatoes before they even sprout, so check for holes and add more if needed. Potato bags want 6 or more hours of direct sun, and if you are placing one on concrete or asphalt, prop it up slightly so summer heat does not cook the roots from below. Section 2. The best soil mix for maximum yield. What goes into the bag determines the harvest size more than almost anything else you will do, and standard all-purpose potting mix is not actually the right choice here. It holds too much moisture and compacts over time in a confined space, and that compaction physically limits how many tubers can form and how large they can get. The better mix is roughly equal parts quality compost, a loose garden soil, or cocoa coir base, and a generous helping of coarse perlite or pumice to keep everything friable, with a light starter fertilizer mixed in to support the first weeks of growth. Only fill the bag about a third of the way at planting, not to the top, and that partial fill is directly connected to the hilling technique coming up. The choice you make with soil right now is quietly deciding whether your harvest reveal produces 3 pounds or 8 pounds from the same size bag. If budget matters, a DIY blend from bulk bagged components costs far less than premium ready mixed soil and performs just as well, and homemade compost stretches it further. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever grown potatoes before in any form? And if you have a patio, balcony, or driveway, tell me how much space you are working with. I want to know what your first bag setup is going to look like. Section 3. Choosing and preparing seed potatoes. Certified seed potatoes are worth the small extra cost because they are guaranteed disease-free, while grocery store potatoes can carry soil-borne diseases and are often treated with sprout inhibitors, though they can work in a pinch if that is genuinely your only option. For variety, early types get you a harvest before peak summer heat, main crop varieties push the highest total yield, and fingerlings tend to produce the most visually dramatic harvest reveal of any type. Before planting, chit your seed potatoes, set them eyes up in a cool, bright spot for 2 to 3 weeks, and short, sturdy purple-tinged sprouts mean they are ready, this single step gives your plants a 2 to 3 week head start over unchitted potatoes. If a seed potato is larger than a golf ball, cut it into pieces with at least 2 eyes each. Let the cut surfaces dry and callus for a day or two before planting so they do not rot in the soil. Section 4. Planting Day. The exact method. Start with that partial soil fill from earlier, roughly 4 to 6 inches deep in the bottom of the bag. Place 2 to 4 seed potato pieces evenly spaced, depending on bag size, eyes facing upward, then cover with another 3 to 4 inches of soil. Water gently right after planting, just enough to settle the soil without soaking it, and place the bag somewhere bright and warm while you wait. Do not panic if nothing visible happens for the first week or two. That is completely normal, and everything important is happening underground. Write the planting date and variety on the bag itself. It is the one record-keeping step almost everyone skips, and later wishes they had done when harvest timing gets fuzzy. Get the bag and soil right, and you have given your plants a genuinely strong foundation. But the technique coming up next is the one that separates average bag potato harvests from the kind that make people share videos, and most first-time growers never even know it exists. Section 5. The hilling technique that multiplies yield. This is the single most important technique in the entire system. It is the difference between harvesting 3 pounds from a bag and harvesting 8 pounds from that same bag. Potatoes only form on stem sections that are buried underground, never on the root system itself, which means the more stem you bury over time, the more tuber formation sites you create, and bag growing is built specifically to exploit that fact. Once the shoots reach about 4 to 6 inches above the soil line, it is time for the first hilling. Add 2 to 3 more inches of soil, covering most of the stem but leaving the top leaves exposed. Repeat this every time the plant grows another 4 to 6 inches above the new soil line. Most bags go through 3 to 4 hilling cycles before the bag is finally filled to the top. The one mistake that actually reduces yield is adding too much soil too fast and burying the growing tip entirely. Cover the lower stem, never the leafy top. By the final hilling cycle, the bag should be filled close to the rim, a long way from that partially filled bag you started with. That establishment process takes less than 20 minutes, and most of the work after planting is simply watching and waiting. But the watering and feeding system coming up next is what determines whether those underground tubers reach their full size or stall out short of their potential. Section 6. Watering and feeding for maximum production. Bags dry out faster than in ground soil, and faster than most other containers too, in summer heat that often means checking moisture daily and watering every 1 to 2 days depending on your climate. Potatoes are especially sensitive to inconsistent moisture. Wet-dry cycles are what cause hollow centers, cracked skins, and scab, so aim for evenly moist soil rather than alternating between soaked and bone-dry. Check that water is actually draining freely every time you water. As the bag fills with roots later in the season, drainage can slow down and needs occasional attention. Early on, feed with something nitrogen-focused to build strong leaves and stems. Then switch to a potassium and phosphorus-focused feed once flowering approaches to support tuber development instead of more leaf growth. During heat waves, a liquid foliar feed gets nutrients into the plant faster than soil-applied fertilizer when root uptake slows down from stress. Section 7. What to expect week by week. Weeks 1 and 2 are the underground establishment phase, nothing visible above the soil. And this is exactly when most first-time growers panic unnecessarily. The seed potato is simply forming roots and initial sprouts below the surface. Weeks 3 and 4 bring emergence, healthy green shoots pushing through the soil, and this is your cue for that first hilling. Weeks 5 through 8 are vigorous vegetative growth, rapid leaf and stem expansion, your second and often third hilling cycles, and the fertilizer switch toward potassium and phosphorus. Weeks 9 through 12 bring flowering, a genuine milestone that signals active tuber development underground. And if you want a small early taste, this is when you can gently dig for a few baby potatoes without disturbing the rest. Weeks 12 through 16 are maturation. The foliage yellows and dies back naturally. And that dieback is the plant telling you the tubers below have reached their size and the skins are setting, which means the harvest reveal you have been building toward this entire video is finally close. Are you going to try the hilling technique, or did you already know about it before this video? Let me know in the comments, and tell me your zone and what variety you are starting with. I read every comment and want to help you pick the right one. Section 8. The Harvest Reveal. When and how to do it right. Natural yellowing and dying back of the foliage, spread across most of the plant rather than just one wilted leaf, is your true readiness signal, and it looks different from heat-stress dieback, which tends to be sudden and patchy rather than gradual. Before fully harvesting, rub your thumb gently across a potato skin near the surface. If the skin holds firm and does not rub away, the crop has cured properly and is ready. When it is time, lay out a tarp or ground cloth, tip the entire bag over onto it in one motion, and let that pile of potatoes spill out. Then run your hands through the remaining soil to catch smaller tubers that stayed buried. A well-run system in a 15 to 20-gallon bag typically yields somewhere between 3 and 8 pounds, with the higher end reserved for growers who nailed soil, hilling, and watering all season. First attempts often land in the middle of that range, and that is still a genuinely excellent result. At current grocery prices, that single bag harvest is easily worth more than the entire cost of the bag, soil, and seed potatoes combined, which means the system pays for itself on the very first harvest. Let your freshly dug potatoes cure in a cool, dry spot out of direct light for 1 to 2 weeks before eating or storing. This toughens the skins and dramatically extends how long they keep. Everything you just learned is a complete system: a single bag of soil, a handful of seed potatoes, and 3 to 4 months of simple care that ends with a pile of fresh homegrown potatoes many first-time growers describe as one of the most satisfying moments in their entire gardening life. The bag is sitting there right now waiting to be filled. The only thing missing is the decision to start. If you found this valuable, you need to watch my next video, where I break down 7 more vegetables that produce extraordinary harvests in grow bags, including 2 that produce more food per bag than most people grow in an entire raised bed garden. Hit like if you are starting your first bag of potatoes this weekend, subscribe so you never miss a container food growing guide, and drop a comment telling me which variety you are planting first. 1 bag, 1 planting, 3 to 4 months of watching something grow, and then the moment you tip it over and see what you made. That moment is worth every step of the system you just learned. Go get your bag.